Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're heading into the world of AI, specifically one-bit large language models. Now, you're already into AI, right? I mean, maybe you've even played around with ChatGPT and stuff, but trust me, even if you think you know LLMs, this is next-level stuff.
Definitely next level. We're going deep on some brand new research from Microsoft, and there's some great coverage from AI Papers Academy, too. We'll link those in the show notes.
Perfect. So I'm guessing if you're listening to this, you've probably thought at some point, why can't my phone have like a super smart AI that can do all kinds of cool
All
things?
right.
Well, get ready because one-bit LLMs might just be the answer.
They really might. See, the problem with the LLMs we have now is that they're kind of resource hogs. Like, imagine a giant mansion that takes tons of energy to run.
Okay, I get that.
That's fine if you're, a huge tech company with massive data centers. But what if you want to run an LLM on your phone? Or a tiny sensor? Not going to happen.
Right, and the cost isn't just money, it's energy consumption and the whole environmental impact too. So researchers have been trying to figure out how to make LLMs smaller, more efficient, but there's always been this trade-off, right? You shrink the size, you lose some accuracy, it's like compressing a file too much.
Exactly. The quality drops.
But this new research basically says, hold on, what if we could have it all? Smaller size, but no compromise on the accuracy. Pretty wild, right?
It is. They've built this LLM called BitNet B1.58, and it uses way less memory, runs faster, sips energy.
Yeah.
And get this, it performs just as well as those big, complex models.
Wait, seriously. Smaller, faster, less energy, and it's just as good. How is that even possible?
It all comes down to what are called ternary weights. So remember how computers use bits, like zeros and ones, to represent information?
Right, the basic building blocks.
So these researchers basically said, what if we just use three values? Man is 1, 0, and 1.
Okay, I'm following. So fewer values, fewer bits needed. But how does that actually work in the LLM itself?
So picture this. A regular LLM is doing tons of math, especially multiplication, to process information, right?
Makes sense.
But with BitNet B1.58, most of those multiplications become simple addition or subtraction because the weights are so limited.
So they're basically simplifying the math going on under the hood.
Exactly. But here's the kicker. They're not sacrificing accuracy.
That's what I don't get. How do you simplify the math and not lose accuracy?
They've got this really clever trick they use during training called absolute mean quantization.
Absolute mean quantization.
Yeah, it's kind of technical, but basically it forces the weights to stay within that -1, 0, 1 range. Fewer bits, simpler calculations, but somehow no loss in accuracy.
So we're talking about squeezing massive power into a much, much smaller package.
Absolutely. And not only smaller, but way faster too.
Hmm.
Simpler math means it can crunch through data much quicker. So imagine AI that responds instantly, especially noticeable for the really large models.
Okay, this is officially blowing my mind, but let's get real. How much smaller are we talking? How much faster? Like, give me some numbers.
The results are pretty wild. Compared to a popular LLM called Llama, this BitNet thing uses up to 7 times less memory.
7 times. That's crazy.
It's up to 4 times faster. And, wait for it, 71 times less energy for calculations.
71 times. Okay, that's it. I'm fully on board. This is insane. This could mean powerful AI on devices we never even thought of before. Phones, wearables, maybe even tiny sensors in everyday objects.
Exactly. And it's not just about cramming AI onto small things. It's huge for the cost of running these models and for the environment, too.
So what you're saying is this could be the key to AI actually being sustainable.
It's definitely a giant leap in the right direction, that's for sure.
Okay, so we've agreed. One-bit LLMs, total game changer. But how did they actually make this thing work? What kind of performance are we really looking at here?
So the paper gets pretty deep into the weeds, but I think we can break it down. Remember that diagram we were talking about before? How BitNet B1.58 basically simplifies the math by swapping out multiplications for just additions. That's kind of the core of it.
Right, right. Because with the ternary weights, you're really just changing the sign or adding zero. Like it's almost like using an abacus instead of calculator. But somehow you still end up with the right answer.
Exactly. And that simplicity, it actually changes everything. Up until now, we've assumed that to make AI better, we need to make it bigger. More parameters, more data, more computing power, the whole deal. But BitNet B1.58, it challenges that whole idea.
So instead of just throwing more resources at it, we can actually find smarter ways to use what we've already got.
Exactly. And they proved it too. They built this BitNet B1.58 model with 13 billion parameters.
Okay, so that's pretty big already.
It is, but here's the wild part. It's actually more efficient than a regular LLM with only 3 billion parameters.
Wait, hold up. You're telling me they made a model that's over 4 times larger and it's somehow more efficient in terms of speed, memory, energy?
Yep, that's exactly what I'm saying.
That's incredible.
It is. And get this, the bigger you go, the better it gets. They also built a 70 billion parameter BitNet B1.58 model, and it's more efficient than a 13 billion parameter regular LLM.
It's like they found a cheat code for AI or something.
It kind of feels that way. But the question is, how does all this translate into real-world performance? Did they actually put this thing through its paces?
Yeah, what happened when they actually tried it out?
They ran that huge 70 billion parameter BitNet model through a whole bunch of tests, and the results are, well, let's just say they're impressive.
I bet. Give me the highlights.
So they compared to stable LM3B, which is like
Yeah.
the gold standard, right? Open source LLM considered state-of-the-art. And guess what?
What? Don't leave me hanging.
BitNet B1.58 beat it in every single test.
No way. So it's not just efficient, it's actually really accurate too.
Exactly. I mean, this one-bit stuff, it can actually generalize really well and tackle all sorts of tasks without breaking a sweat.
Okay, so smaller, faster, energy efficient, and it performs like a champ. This is like the ultimate AI package. But you mentioned something earlier about mixture of experts models, MOE models. What are those and how do they fit into all of this?
Great question. MOE models, they're a way to make LLMs even more efficient and powerful. Imagine trying to do something really complex like write a symphony or design a new experiment.
Yeah, that'd be pretty overwhelming to try to do all at once.
For sure, you'd want to break it down into smaller, manageable parts.
Right, get some specialists involved.
Exactly. That's what MOE models do. They take a huge LLM and split it into these smaller, specialized modules.
So it's like a team of AI experts, each one focusing on their own thing.
That's a great way to put it. And this lets you scale things up, make it more efficient overall. But there's a catch. Even though they're more efficient than regular LLMs, MOE models still need a lot of resources.
So where does BitNet B1.58 come into play?
Well, imagine combining that incredible one-bit efficiency with the power and flexibility of MOE.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. So you could have LLMs that are smaller, faster, less energy, and able to tackle even more complex tasks.
Exactly. The best of both worlds. And think about the possibilities. We're talking AI assistants that really understand you, help you learn new stuff, create art, even compose music.
AI that goes way beyond just setting reminders or playing music. It's AI that can actually make our lives better, help us be more creative.
That's the idea. And it goes beyond just personal stuff, too. Imagine the impact on research, education, scientific discoveries.
We're getting into sci-fi territory here.
It might seem like it, but it's getting more realistic all the time thanks to advancements like this BitNet B1.58.
Okay, so MOE models, got it. But you also mentioned another challenge for LLMs, dealing with really long chunks of text. How does GitNet handle that?
That's another area where it really shines. Remember, one of the big advantages is how little memory it needs.
Yeah.
And that means it could actually handle way longer sequences of text natively.
So instead of summarizing a couple of paragraphs, we could have LLMs that understand whole articles, books, maybe even movies.
Exactly. And because it's using so much less memory, it can process all that info much faster. The researchers even suggested that you might be able to compress the activations down to 4 bits, or even less.
Wow, that's insane. Like fitting a whole library into a tiny box. What kind of impact could that have on, everyday life?
Well, imagine having all of human knowledge at your fingertips. AI that can summarize complex research, translate entire books in real time, even create custom educational material just for you.
We're talking about truly democratizing information, making it so anyone can access and understand anything.
Precisely. And it's more than just accessing info. Imagine AI tools that help you write better, compose music, design new experiments. The possibilities are pretty much endless.
This is incredible. But so far, we've been talking mostly about the software side of things. What about the hardware that actually runs these models?
That's a crucial part of the puzzle. To unlock the full potential of one-bit LLMs, we need hardware that's built specifically for them.
So not just adapting the chips we already have, but completely rethinking how we design them.
Exactly. Remember how BitNet mostly relies on simple additions, not complex multiplications? Traditional AI chips are designed for those complex multiplications, so we need new chips that can handle the simple stuff efficiently.
So the chips wouldn't need to be as complex, which means they could be cheaper and use even less power.
Exactly. Win-win situation.
Yeah.
AI chips that are more powerful, but also more affordable and energy efficient.
This is what I love about AI. It's not just about the code, it's about the whole ecosystem, the algorithms, the hardware, everything.
It really is. And this one-bit breakthrough, it has the potential to touch every part of that ecosystem.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here. The technical details, the potential impact on devices, the hardware side of things. But I feel like we're just scratching the surface. What else is there to unpack?
Well, there's one more piece of this I think is really important, and it has to do with the environmental impact of AI.
That's something everyone cares about these days. We all know that training and running these giant AI models takes a lot of energy.
It's a big concern. And one-bit LLMs, they could offer a real solution. Remember that 71x reduction in energy for calculations.
Oh, yeah, that was huge.
But it's not just about energy while it's running. What about the energy it takes to train these models in the first place?
That's a great point. I mean, I guess they didn't specifically address the training energy in this paper, right?
Right, they didn't. But it stands to reason that if it needs less resources overall, that means less energy for training too, right?
So potentially, AI that's not just more powerful and accessible, but actually better for the planet.
Absolutely. And it's not just about reducing carbon footprints, it's about sustainability in the long run. If we can make AI that needs less energy and fewer resources, we can make it available to more people all over the world.
Yeah, that's a really important point. AI could help solve some of the world's biggest problems, but only if everyone can actually use it.
Exactly. And this one bit thing, it's a big step towards making that happen. It's making powerful AI accessible, and that's awesome.
It's like taking something that used to be just for a select few and making it available to everyone, a real game changer.
For sure. And it just shows how fast things are moving in AI.
Yeah.
Just a couple years ago, the idea of running large language models on a phone seemed impossible. Now it's becoming a reality because of these breakthroughs.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing how fast this field is evolving. Makes you wonder what's next, right?
That's the best part. There's so much potential for new discoveries. If we can get these kinds of results with one-bit LLMs, just imagine what we can do with even more advanced stuff.
Feels like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible, and that's what makes AI so exciting.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember this is just the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
This research is still early, but it could completely change how we think about and use AI.
So for our listeners, what's the big takeaway here? What should they be thinking about?
I'd say the key thing is the future of AI is bright, and it's getting more sustainable and accessible every day. Keep an eye on these developments because they could have a big impact on your life.
Great advice. And remember, you don't need to be a computer scientist to understand all this amazing stuff. Keep learning, keep exploring, and stay curious.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And hey, if you're feeling inspired, maybe even dive into the research yourself. You never know what you might find.
That's a perfect way to wrap things up. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into one-bit LLMs. We'll be back soon with more fascinating topics, so stay tuned.